You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And we welcome you into the Braves POSTCAST, part of the all-new Locked On Sports Atlanta. After a great night for the Atlanta Braves, a big day overall for the Atlanta Braves. When we came to you not 24 hours ago, Jake, we were not talking about the imminent return of Ronald Acuña Jr. in such a fashion in which we expected it to happen overnight. But that ultimately is what happened. We're going to get into that story. We're also going to be recapping what was a very solid 5-1 win for the Braves behind Kyle Wright. And again, as the Braves have struggled to find themselves consistency-wise in this season, we were searching for that first series win, and the Braves found it on Thursday night at Truist Park. He is Jake Mastroianni. I am Grant McAuley. This is the Braves POSTCAST, part of the all-new Locked On Sports Atlanta. Want to make sure, before we get started, that you subscribe to the YouTube channel here to get everything that we have to offer. As far as Locked On Sports Atlanta is concerned, click the bell, get notifications whenever we drop a new episode, and make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. You'll get this postcast feed and everything else Jake is throwing your way throughout the season. But the Braves threw us a pretty nice surprise on Thursday, Jake, as we woke up and we're just kind of getting ready for what we figured would be just another day of waiting for Ronald Acuña Jr. As it turned out, as he was playing video games late into the night, the Braves made the decision to call him back up and have him play for the Atlanta Braves rather than out in Gwinnett.
Yeah, he's back. That's all I could say all day long. I was just telling people they didn't even know what I was talking about, Grant. I was just saying he's back, and I'm at Publix, and they're like, who's back? And I'm like, Ronald Acuña Jr. He is back. I was so excited. You know, me and you were both thinking he might come back earlier than that May 6th timetable. Sure. You know, I was thinking May 2nd for the Mets series. You know, you were kind of leaning maybe for that Texas series. We were both wrong, and he was back on Thursday. And man, I was so excited for this game, for his return.
Yeah, it was exciting to see. And Ronald Acuña Jr., he brings that kind of buzz, that anticipation, that excitement that was building once he went out on that rehab assignment. But we had heard that it was going to be early May before the Braves called on him. I think everyone kind of knew that if he were to go down and really put on a show, maybe he'd be coming up a little bit earlier. I know I would have been shocked if he wasn't back for the Mets series. I kind of got the feeling once he got back up to Gwinnett and had played a game up for the Stripers rather than out on the road as he began his rehab assignment, maybe we would see him sooner than later, just for proximity's sake, to let him get his work in at the big league level. And of course he did. He helped the Braves out. It kind of energized the club, I think, a little bit, and a 5-1 victory for Atlanta over the Chicago Cubs to take 2 out of 3 in a series. That, of course, is a big story as well. We got a lot to get into on this show, so let's start with how it lined up for the Braves as they played their 20th game of the year, and they took it from Chicago as the Cubs dropped to 8-11 with a run on 3 hits, 1 error, 4 men left on base. Braves now 9 wins, 11 losses, 5 runs, 11 hits, no errors, 8 men left aboard. It was Kyle Wright who improved to 3-0 as he really battled, didn't have the best command that he had been showing us all season long, but it was more than enough, and I think that speaks to his development, which we'll talk a lot about on this episode. Former Brave Drew Smyly took the loss, 1-2 on the year, no save. The game lasted 2 hours and 49 minutes, and a crowd of 34,183 were on hand to see it. Let's dive in here with Kyle Wright. We knew that he was looking to build on what he'd done these first 3 outings, Jake, but this was almost my favorite Kyle Wright appearance of the season because unlike years past, when it was time to make an in-game adjustment, Kyle Wright was able to push all the right buttons, pull all the right levers, and work himself through some trouble.
Yeah, and obviously Ronald Acuña Jr. is the story of the day. What Kyle Wright did in this game is the best thing that happened today for the Atlanta Braves. He clearly lost command in that second inning, in particularly lost all command of his fastball, just could not throw it for strikes at all. Travis d'Arnaud takes that timeout, goes out there and says, hey, your best pitch is the curveball. It's what you've been throwing the best. 8 of his next 9 pitches were curveballs. He gets out of that inning. Still really kind of struggled, really throughout, like you said, but particularly in that third inning, Cubs hitters kind of helped him out a little bit. But to me, this was the best thing of the day for the Atlanta Braves. Kyle Wright, when he clearly did not have his best command, didn't have his best stuff, and he gives you 7 innings. That was just incredible for me. That is a huge development for Kyle Wright to know that even when he doesn't have his best stuff, what he does have working, even if he just has one pitch working in that curveball, which is his best pitch right now, that he can get through a lineup, he can get batters out. This is huge for Kyle Wright, in my opinion.
Yeah, and really, that fastball was up to 98 in this start. There wasn't the command, I think, for him that he would have liked to have had for that, but finding and identifying what works. I know I want to give credit to Kyle Wright for being the man throwing the pitches, but behind the plate, I think this is one of the number one intangibles that Travis d'Arnaud brings to this staff is the comfort level that they have with him and his ability to help them navigate through difficult times, work the problem, and figure out a solution for it. And I think that mound visit you mentioned, and then the changes we saw, you could chalk it up to some teamwork there from the battery mates. And the results of that were getting Kyle out of trouble, getting him to the seventh inning, which is something I don't think a lot of people expected. I know I tweeted out before he even threw a pitch. I like it because it's continuing to challenge Kyle Wright and in another way, kind of rewarding him for what he was doing out there in battling through on a night where maybe everything wasn't coming as easy for him. But if you look at the line score, Jake, you probably think things were coming pretty easy. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned, and that was only because the Braves weren't able to execute a rundown in a timely enough fashion to avoid that run coming across. 4 walks and 8 punch-outs for him. The walks, of course, was a little bit part and parcel to the control problems that he had, but he was able to work out of it. Got a couple of key double plays, including one that he started in the 7th inning. He lowered his ERA, Jake, to 1.13, or excuse me, it bumped up, but his 1.13 ERA is second in the National League, 4th in all of Major League Baseball, and he is now second in MLB in strikeouts with 34. And this, again, we're talking about on a night where maybe he didn't have his best stuff, but he made it work.
He did. And look, the walk in the first inning to Wilson Contreras, I understood. You had a base open. He's a good hitter. That one I understood. The rest were just because he clearly didn't have his command. And you talk about going back out for that 7th inning. Yeah, I agree. I liked it. Had you gone to O'Day, I would have been perfectly okay with that as well. But I like you went back out there. And then he walks the first batter, on may have been 4 pitches again, 4 or 5 pitches, and Snicker still leaves him in there. He gets the big double play on the comebacker back to the mound. And this was huge because we talked about it in yesterday's postcast. The bullpen obviously taxed in this series with the extra innings the night before. You knew it was very thin back there without Matzik, without Jansen available. So for Kyle Wright to not have his best stuff and give you 7 innings, save that bullpen. I can't say enough good things about Kyle Wright in this start. He just, again, I thought I was already pumped up for Kyle Wright this season. This is just an incredible development for him.
Yeah, just more confirmation. And keeping in mind, not only had the bullpen worked a little bit coming into this game, but what's ahead? A trip to Texas, the 4 games in 3 days against the New York Mets. Yeah, they'll be able to add a player for that doubleheader day, but you wanted to make sure you kind of manage those workloads with what's going to be coming ahead. And it worked out, and Kyle Wright was a big reason why. We're going to talk a little bit more about what the Braves offense was doing in this one. But before we do, I want to remind you that Mother's Day is right around the corner. So give mom something she will treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off a $500 purchase. This exclusive deal is only good through Mother's Day, though. Use the code Locked On. That is code Locked On. Every order will come insured, shipping free, arriving in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. So shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. Let's talk about the Braves offense, which was certainly waking up toward the later innings of the game, but also showing some signs early on, and in particular from somebody we were hoping to see more and more and more from. No, not Ronald Acuña Jr. It was exciting to see him back at the top of the order. It was exciting to see him on the base paths a couple of times, stealing a couple bases. But how about the bottom of the order, led by Dansby Swanson? Another multi-hit night, his first home run of the year. Adam Duvall got into the action with his first home run of the year late. And if you look at what 6 through 9 in the order did, 7 for 15, 2 home runs, 4 runs knocked in, 3 runs scored, Jake. You get Acuña back at the top. You have the bottom of the order come to life. All of a sudden, the Braves offense looks a lot more dangerous in the days to come and hopefully weeks and months to come.
Yeah, and the bottom of the order, we talked about this too. They've really picked it up over the last several games, particularly on the homestand. And we didn't really even mention the fact that Ronald coming back in that leadoff spot. Typically he's got the pitcher ahead of him, but now you got Dansby there. That does wonders for Dansby Swanson in that 9 spot, knowing Acuña is on deck, knowing he's going to get a fastball on a 3-2 count. That has to be a big lift for him. And Dansby was really good on this homestand, 7 for 18, 4 walks, still has the strikeouts, but that's, part of his game. But
Mhm.
to see him get the hits, 7 hits, 4 walks, getting on base for the top of the order, it's really huge. Travis Demerit, he had some tough luck last night. He's able to get some of that back tonight. Had a couple of balls that got through the infield for a few hits. You mentioned the home run by Duvall. Travis d'Arnaud. The bottom of the lineup, this lineup is just so deep now. It's what we've been talking about. When you put Acuña at the top and you push everybody back down into their more natural spots, that I think it just really extends this lineup. And it's great to see, the bottom of the lineup, they have been doing much better job lately getting on base, and they continue to do so tonight. And Dansby is a big part of that.
Yeah, all part of the winning formula for the Braves. Home runs in this game. Austin Riley, his 5th. That got the scoring started. Dansby Swanson and Adam Duvall each hit their first home run. Multi-hit games. Dansby Swanson, Travis d'Arnaud, Marcell Ozuna, Travis Demerit. Again, the bottom of the lineup coming through. And not to bury the lead, Ronald Acuña Jr.'s final line. It might not have looked as exciting or maybe as dramatic and theatrical as you thought it would be. He did pick up a base hit, an opposite field single late in the game in his 4th at bat. He did steal 2 bases in this one, though. So if you were wondering about, is Ronald Acuña Jr. going to have the green light to run on the bases early on in his comeback attempt or early on in his return to the big leagues as he comes back from this injury? Well, I think the answer to that is a resounding yes. And it helped the Braves win a series, and now they are set up to go out on the road, face a Texas Rangers team that's been scuffling, and then they're going to be face-to-face with the New York Mets, who are top of the National League East standings for an early season showdown between those two clubs. We'll get into what's ahead for the Braves as they head into the weekend in a moment. First, though, betonline.net is your number one source for your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and all the MLB action. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, live betting, playoffs, esports, and more. BetOnline.net, where the game starts. The game will be starting out on the road on Friday night for the Braves as they head to Texas, where they will battle the Rangers in the first of a 3-game series. 8:05 p.m. Eastern time at Globe Life Field. That's first pitch in game 1 of this 3-game set as Ian Anderson will face Garrett Richards, a battle of right-handers to open up this series. Jake, what are you looking to see out of Ian Anderson as he hits the road and pitches at Globe Life Field?
Yeah, again, as we always talk about with Ian, just that consistency in the strike zone, working that fastball up, that changeup in the zone, more so down in the zone, but it's got so much movement on it. He just has to trust it. And just looking for consistency from him. Can he get deep in the game? Can he go 6 innings? The struggle with Ian is just he wastes so many pitches. He works so many deep counts that he's not able to go very long in the ball game. So that's always what I'm watching for Ian. Can he get some quick outs? Can he go deep in the ball game? We know his stuff is good. We know that changeup is ridiculous. So that's what I'm looking for from him. Garrett Richards, I think, is going to be an opener in this game. So you never really know how those games are going to go, but hopefully the Braves offense will be ready and clicking. 3 home runs on Thursday night. Great to see the home run ball starting to come back. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. And the Braves had 8 balls that they hit on Thursday night that were 102 miles per hour or harder. 6 of them go for hits, so that's a nice trend to see. The team's been hitting the ball hard all year long, so it's great to see them start getting rewarded for some of those hard hits. So hopefully that trend continues for a Rangers pitching staff that has not been very good to start the season.
Yeah, a bit beleaguered is, I guess, a term that you could use to describe the Texas Rangers pitching staff. They're still searching for some answers. Spent a lot of money in the offseason to rebuild their infield and bring in some offense. So you know that Ian Anderson's going to have a little bit of work on his hands as far as that's concerned. And we know all about Corey Seager. We saw enough of him when he was with the Dodgers in the postseason in 2020 in particular. But we'll see how this series plays out. It all gets started on Friday night in Arlington, 8:05 p.m. Eastern time. First pitch at Globe Life Field, game 1 of 3 as the Braves and Rangers clash with Ian Anderson facing Garrett Richards of the Texas Ball Club. A great night at Truist Park, though, as Ronald Acuña Jr. returns. He gets a hit, steals a couple of bases. The Braves, meanwhile, they win a series with their 5-1 win over the Cubs, taking 2 out of 3. It took 6 tries, but the Braves have finally won a series, and they will look to get another series victory and perhaps climb up over 500 if all goes well this weekend in Texas. Jake, is a great time for us to reflect on what I think was a fun night for Braves fans, but now I think the work begins with Ronald Acuña Jr. back. Let's see if this Braves club can get on a roll and do the things that we know they're capable of, that they've shown us in recent years is perfectly, it's all out in front of them. They've just got to come together and start playing some consistent baseball. We'll see if they're able to do it beginning on Friday night in Texas. We appreciate you joining us for the Braves Postcast, part of the all-new Locked On Sports Atlanta. Be sure you subscribe on YouTube and to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. He's Jake Mastroianni. I'm Grant McAuley. Once again, your final score was the Braves 5 and the Cubs 1. Thanks for joining us on the Braves Postcast. We will catch you tomorrow night right here on the all-new Locked On Sports Atlanta. So long, everyone.